Welcome everyone to Depression to Expression. My name is Scott, and today we're going to talk about the ketogenic diet challenge I went through for mental health reasons. That's what those 30 days of vlogs were all about. What I was trying to do is experiment and see, does food have an impact on my mood? Now the answer is obviously it does. Obviously it does. But I was looking for ways that the ketogenic diet would increase my energy, overall mood, how I felt in the mornings, and what it did was actually something that I didn't expect. I'm going to talk about 3 things that the ketogenic diet basically cured in 30 days. It's pretty remarkable. And then I'm going to talk about what foods I'm introducing now that I've already introduced and what the effect has been so far. Because if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram and stuff, you know I've been talking about, man, I just want that coffee. I just want a nice old-fashioned plain donut. How about a maple dip? How about a vanilla dip? How about an apple fritter? I was craving some of that stuff, and well, I'm going to tell you what I've introduced and what the effect is. But first, the 3 things. Oh, and also blood test results too. You can check this video out. I was in the hospital because I fell off my bike, and what they do is they take your blood when you're in the hospital, see if everything's a-okay. And it just so happens I wanted to do that anyways for the ketogenic diet. So I'm like, hey, nurse, may I please have those test results? Can I have a copy of that? Now, this doesn't include like B vitamins and things like that. You need separate tests like for an actual physical to get those. But there's pretty cool things in this blood test that I think you'll find very interesting. Because the ketogenic diet, man, that's a way different way to eat than I was used to. Like, I was pretty high carb, and when you're doing 70% fat, 20% protein, 10% carb, I was barely doing 10% carb there. It was very, very different, and the blood test actually surprised me. So, you ready? Sit back, relax, take your pants off. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. This is a mental health channel, Depression to Expression, where we express ourselves fully, freely, with confidence. All right? Let's do this. The first thing the ketogenic diet cured at around day, I think it was around day 15, after the keto flu, after I felt terrible, the big cure was my allergies. Seasonal allergies. Now, I can't remember a time where I didn't have seasonal allergies, where my eyes weren't itchy, where my nose wasn't running or plugged, where my ears and the roof of my mouth weren't itchy. It hasn't happened. And that's a result that I didn't know, I didn't expect that to happen. And let me tell you, going through a summer and not having to sneeze, not having to take allergy medication was awesome. Like, I go to bed and I can actually breathe through my nose. For all of you who suffer from seasonal allergies, it's like going to bed and you have to breathe through your mouth and you wake up with the dry mouth and the pasties. This was a treat. This was a real treat. And again, from an early age, I've been taking Arius. Claritin doesn't work for me. Arius is the one allergy medication that I take that just does wonders. I'm spitting everywhere. And I was just so surprised by that result. So surprised and so happy. So that's number 1. Seasonal allergies, gone with the ketogenic diet. Gone. Number 2, this isn't really a cure, and this was pretty much an obvious thing. Because my calorie intake I don't think was as high. When you go off carbs, as you can see by the vlogs, I'm gonna put a link up here where you can see every single vlog I did for the 30 days, and you can see how I'm pissed off at the beginning, going through keto flu. There's times of depression, times of more anxiety, times where I'm just like, this diet's stupid, and then other times where after the keto flu, I get used to things, get used to the habit, eating differently, getting used to cooking differently, buying the right vegetables, buying meats, finding them on sale. You get used to the whole thing after just a few weeks. But the one thing was, my calories were definitely lower at the beginning. I had to eat non-stop. And I was telling Michaela, who introduced me to this diet and told me to try it, she was like, yeah, you're gonna like be hungry a lot of the time at the beginning. Your body's just not used to it. My body was craving carbs, and I'm just like, use the fat for energy, you idiot. My body wasn't listening for a while. So what it did is, for all you ladies or gay men, I'm going to show you my stomach. Now, it's nothing serious, okay, but I had a beer belly before the ketogenic diet. Not a beer belly, but I had a kangaroo pouch. I was growing a joey in there. And from the reduced calories, but also you talk to anyone, you reduce carbs, your stomach gets flat, man. It gets flat. So that was what I saw even around week 1. Flatter stomach and no bloating after eating. Huge improvement. Huge improvement. So I just want to show you. Like, that's pretty cool, right? And I'll do a little flex. Like, guys, I haven't done a sit-up in a month. Because that accident bruised my ribs, right? I don't know if you can see that. That's my hip, but that was all bruised. My ribs are still bruised here, so I haven't been able to work out. But look at that, man. That's crazy. Now, if I push out, that's the push out. That's the push out. But you're never actually going, like when you're walking around, right? So that's pretty cool. What do you think? If I do a little twist, you know, it's all lighting at the end of the day. And I'll have to make this a thumbnail so I get a click or two. But, guys, like in all seriousness, not to flaunt or be cocky about how my body looks. You know, I don't do that type of thing. But I wanted to show you, and you asked for it. Again, I should have done it before. Thinking if I have any pictures of a before. I probably do. But I did lose 10 pounds on the keto diet. And the 10 pounds was honestly in that stomach area. That's where, you know, women get it in the hips. And men get it right in the bellies, right in the lower abdomen. So that was pretty cool. What do you think? That's pretty cool. So we're at no allergies. That's number 1. Awesome. Number 2, belly fat, gonzo. Number 3, headaches. Headaches. Now, here's the tough thing. I got a pillow about a week and a half into the ketogenic diet. A new pillow, a Casper pillow. But I was sleeping at my parents' place. I was sleeping at friends' places. So I had different pillows throughout the month. And I was still getting no headaches in the morning, in the afternoon, night. Never. And let me tell you, I would get headaches often in the morning. Ketogenic diet, no headaches. No headaches. Can you believe that? Now, with these three cures, I'm not advertising any diet. Like, I'm never one to be like, carbs are bad, like to eliminate this or go vegan or go carnivore or do this and that. I'm just sharing my own experiences here. And with these 3 improvements, that's pretty awesome. That is pretty cool just after 30 days of eating differently. I don't know what the long-term effects of keto are. Well, I'll talk to you about the foods I'm reintroducing, but that's so cool. That is so cool, because usually I'll have a headache in the morning. Just, it feels like inflammation. That's what it feels like. And with the weather too, certain weather, cloudy weather, I don't know, different pressures in the air, I get headaches. For 30 days, not a headache. Even during the keto flu, not a headache. So that's cool. Those are the 3 things. So we have allergies, no bloating, and a flatter stomach, and no headaches. That's really cool. So next, I'm going to go through introducing my foods, and last, I'll show you my blood results. So again, if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, all the links are below, all the great links to all these cool playlists and what we do here on Depression to Expression. It's all available in the description. But I was craving donuts. Carb withdrawal is a real thing. And, you know, people get hangry, and maybe people before their morning coffee, they're impatient and they're not fun to be around. That's carb withdrawal, man. Like, I was fiending for a little bit. I was pissed off. I was really mad about having to eat so much at the beginning. But let me tell you, the one thing I wanted more than anything was a donut. I wanted a donut, and I haven't had one yet. But what I have introduced slowly but surely is my ketogenic diet was different than most, because most people stick on the dairy because dairy's great for fat. Bunch of cheaters. But I didn't do dairy. I didn't. I had no fruit. Not a single fruit. This was meat and veggies. That's it. That's it. Oils, of course. Oils were huge. And water. No coffee either. No bullet coffees. No butter in my my coffee, none of that. Because that's a big thing with keto as well, doing the bullet coffees. Nothing. So what I wanted to introduce first was fruit. I first had a plum, waited a day. Had a banana and a peach, waited 2 more days. No reaction. So, good news. Those 3 fruits, like, I miss bananas. I would have a banana every single day, at least 2 bananas. And no reaction whatsoever. Fruit, A-okay. Second, beer. I had a beer and no reaction whatsoever. I waited a few days, right? The taste was delicious. I'm trying to think of what beer I actually had. Oh, geez. It was at the wedding. It was a Sleeman. Yes, I could have chosen a cool Ontario craft brew or something from Toronto. It was a Sleeman. But it was delicious. And it was at a wedding, so maybe I sweat, I danced, I had lots of food. I didn't eat carbs there during the meal, but the beer, success. So we're at fruit, beer, A-okay. Haven't had a bagel or any bread or anything whatsoever. But the other thing I did have was... Oh, wait, let me just think. Oh, right. Sorry, the bread, that was just a lie. I had a burger with the bun. Burger with the bun. And phone, please. And no reactions whatsoever. Didn't feel groggy. Didn't feel any adverse effects. I know what you're thinking, like, yeah, maybe I would have if I did this maybe for a 2-month period or 3 months, like do 90 days and then go back to the original diet. But I was definitely in ketosis, man. Like, oh, it was the best feeling when I woke up one morning and wasn't starving. That happened at around day 26, 27. I woke up and I wasn't starving. Like, I would get up in the morning and I'd be in pain because I'd be so hungry. And after 3 weeks, I wasn't starving. That was a great feeling. But so I was definitely in ketosis, but the bread didn't do anything. And the last thing that I reintroduced was sauces. So I did ketchup and this barbecue sauce that was fairly low sugar, but I dipped chicken and a burger in there. And that was it. Now, the way I did the burger was no sauce on the burger so I could see how the bun is, just alone, and then reintroduce sauces on their own. I was very careful about this. No reactions whatsoever. But remember, this is mental health. I did the ketogenic diet for mental health reasons, not to lose weight, not to see what my workouts would be like and energy levels that way pumping iron, although my energy wasn't great the whole time. But this was for mental health, and as far as anxiety or anything like that, or depression, no real benefit with the ketogenic diet. No big benefit. Because I was feeling good from the beginning. Now, as I told you all before, the real test would be going off antidepressants and maintaining the ketogenic diet, and that's something I'm still debating, and I'd appreciate your balanced opinion there, and don't go after me about that. But it's a big decision because I've gone off antidepressants before and I've almost died, and I know the withdrawal effects. It's like, well, if you've gone through that, yeah, I don't need to describe it. So, last but not least, this is very uncut. Let's go through the blood results. Now, as I said before, the nurse was nice enough to give me a copy. I'm trying to figure out how to best share this with you guys. They measured sodium, potassium, chloride, total CO2, glucose levels, and creatinine. I believe that's how you say it. Creatinine. So, sodium, perfect. And my meals, I added salt on everything. Since with carbs and breads, you're getting a lot of salt that way, you do need to salt your food with the keto. That's one thing I learned. Potassium, on the high end, but right on. Chloride, perfect. Glucose was on the low end. So they give you a range of 4 moles per liter to 7.8. And I was at 4.6. So the nurse did say that was on the lower end, glucose. And, well, obviously I'm not getting the carbs, so I think that makes sense. Or maybe I wasn't full keto. I don't know. Those experienced, or maybe a doctor's watching, please let me know. Creatinine, which is creatine. You get all that from meat, right? That was at 84 out of 112, so that's a perfect range. I just want to talk about the things that were high for me with this blood test. So red blood cell count was on the high, like it was too high. So they give you a range of 4.3 to 5.6 E12 per liter. Don't know what that means. Anyways, it was 5.64. Red blood cell count was high, as well as, which is cool, MPV. MPV stands for the platelet volume, your blood platelets, and how large they are. And these were fairly big. And if something is, again, I was talking to the nurse, MPV, I can tell you exactly what that means. Mean platelet volume, average platelet volume, calculated measurement of the average size of platelets found in the blood, and is typically included in the test as part of the CBC. So, what this means, if it's high, it says normally occurs when your body constantly creates new platelets because of a continual loss of existing platelets. This can be caused by things like recent surgery, infection, inflammation, or from heavy blood loss. So, I didn't lose any blood, but I'm thinking maybe inflammation could have had something to do with this. Although, with the lack of seasonal allergies, like allergies, it's an immune response, right? So I'm thinking the inflammation in my immune system went down, but who knows? I know I'm kind of talking out of my ass here because I'm not a doctor and I have absolutely no medical training when it comes to blood tests. But if you know more about this stuff, please comment below. This is a dialogue, so please help me out a little bit if you find this interesting. And the other thing that was high was monocytes, ABS monocytes. When they're high, a heightened percentage in your blood can be caused by chronic inflammatory disease, such as inflammatory bowel disease. So, another thing with inflammation. Isn't that interesting? Two of the things in my blood that could be caused, that are high, that could be caused by inflammation. That is very interesting, isn't it? So, those are the blood results, blood tests. White blood cell count was perfect. Again, I talked about the glucose being perfect. I said red blood cell count was perfect. And that's about it. So that was the ketogenic diet. There's the 3 cures. That's the reintroduction of food. So far, so good. Again, I'm not going back to heavy carb anymore. I told you I'd update you on that. I'm not. It doesn't make sense. And I'm definitely not eating dairy again. I don't miss it. I do not miss dairy. I don't miss cheese. I don't miss milk. I don't miss yogurt. Don't miss butter. None of that. So, excuse me, dairy is something that I'm fine with missing out on. That's a big inflammatory thing. I guarantee if I reintroduce dairy, allergies would come back. I could probably experiment with that for sure. But I just have to go buy dairy. I don't really want to buy stuff. And then the blood test all seems good, right? Except for the high parts, but the nurse said that's like honestly nothing to worry about. We'll see. If I'm dead within a week, please call for help. Now that's the 30-day challenge, everyone. Keto, I'd highly recommend it if you suffer from seasonal allergies. If you want to try something different for anxiety, for depression, right? For any kind of physical illness that you have. I'm all about just trying everything, attacking something that you suffer with from every different possible angle and see what works. And diet, for the most part, is something that people don't really think about and that we don't experiment with, which is actually pretty nuts. Let me tell you, it wasn't fun for the first 2 weeks, but it's 2 weeks out of your life, man. It was definitely worth it as an experiment, and I'm going to change the way I eat for the rest of my life. A burger here and there is great, but as far as heavy pastas and dairy sauces and cheeses and candy, it's just not worth it anymore. It doesn't do anything for me. So, like, I would keep this diet, altered version, where, you know, I can still have fruit, which is fantastic, but I do it just from the seasonal allergies point of view and the headaches. Pretty awesome, and I'm pretty excited. So I hope this gave you some motivation too to try this yourself. I know a lot of people who are following the vlogs every day were doing their own challenges. Please comment, let me know how your 30-day challenge went. I know a lot of you were getting rid of refined sugar. Some of you stopped drinking coffee. Other people were doing meditation for a month every day. Let me know how that went. And I hope you enjoy the new backdrop for all the videos. I love reading. Music's a form of expression, and I love nature. This is like my mental health toolbox right here. So I hope you like the brighter background, because brighter days are ahead for all of us. Stay strong. Keep being you, and don't forget to express yourself.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Watch Autumn Keto. My name is Autumn, and I've been on the keto diet since September of 2017. Over the past year and a half, I have lost around 80 pounds with keto, and so I just wanted to make this video today to give you 4 of my tips and tricks for starting and or staying on the keto diet. Tip number 1 is do your research. I feel like a lot of people just jump into the keto diet, and if you don't really take some time to look into it, you just think, oh, butter, bacon, eggs, boom, that's it. And you attempt to do that for a week, and it might even work, but then you start to feel burnt out and restricted, and then you're like, oh, the keto diet didn't work for me. And it's not that the keto diet didn't work for you, it's just that enough research wasn't done to understand how to make the diet sustainable for you. As a part of that, I would also say be prepared to know what you're going to eat every day for the first 2 to 4 weeks. Having a plan, especially when you're starting a new diet, it gives you something to be accountable to. If you're anything like me, whenever you're given the option or whenever you're given a food choice, you make the wrong choice. So the easiest way to not even have to worry about that is to have a meal plan, a 30-day plan of this is what I plan to eat every day for the first 30 days to keep me on track, and keep going and keep planning ahead so that you don't find yourself in situations where you're out stranded and you don't have any food and a Cinnabon's looking real tempting and you didn't prepare yourself. So preparation is key. Tip number 2. And this was something that I really had to learn the hard way. Start with food that you actually like. So when you look up ketogenic recipes, there's gonna be a bunch of stuff like MCT oil and psyllium husk and xanthan gum and just all these weird ingredients that you probably have never heard of. And that's okay, because that stuff is totally optional. There are plenty of lists on the internet of foods that are acceptable on the keto diet. Get that list. Circle the foods that you already like and start with those. I can tell you from my own personal experience, the weekend before I decided to start the keto diet, I went to Sam's Club and I bought $400 worth of food that I had never even thought about eating in the years prior, just because I knew you could have it on the ketogenic diet. Secret keto confession, I don't really like avocados, and that's okay. But I knew that avocados were a staple of the diet. So here I go buying all these avocados, and guess what? They went bad. I bought a jug of MCT oil. For what? Guess what? It is literally still sitting in my pantry unopened a year and a half later. I bought chicken meatballs, just a bunch of things that didn't make sense for me to eat when I know for a fact that I already love butter, I already love eggs, I already love bacon. I already love broccoli and cauliflower and olive oil, and that's exactly what I ended up eating the first few weeks anyway. So all that stuff was just sitting in my pantry going bad because I went right out the gate trying something new. The ketogenic diet is gonna be new enough. You don't need to be introducing new foods while you're just trying to get acclimated to the diet. Tip number 3, no cheats for at least the first 90 days. One of the things that the keto diet has taught me was that there's just no way around it. To lose weight and to get healthier, you just have to consistently eat properly. That's it. In regular diet culture, we've gotten so used to, I can eat well during the week and then go on a 2-day binge on the weekend. And then Monday, I start it all over again. And by Friday and Saturday or Saturday and Sunday, I'm going crazy. Like, there's no way around it. If you want to be successful, you've got to follow the plan for more than just a week. You're never gonna be successful if you don't have 2 key things: discipline, consistency. That's all it takes to be successful at anything. So when you're thinking about that in terms of your diet, be disciplined. Just eat the food that's part of your food plan. consistently for at least 90 days. And my thought process is, if after 90 days you want a cheat meal or a cheat day or something, I'm personally okay with those. That is something that you're gonna have to reconcile when you do your research and figure out what kind of keto diet you wanna do. And if you can go longer than 90 days, if you can just go on the diet and not cheat ever, more power to you. That's even better. That is optimal, best case scenario. But if in order to make the diet sustainable, you do need a cheat meal or a cheat day, I am a huge proponent of those. I have participated in many a cheat day and I'm still successful on the diet because more times than not, I'm eating on plan. And so I know so many people that will start the diet and maybe the first week they lose 8 pounds and the next week they lose 6 pounds. And then the third week, maybe they lose 1 pound. And then the fourth week, maybe they don't lose any weight. And by the fourth week, it's like, oh no, the diet has stopped working for me. Let me quit. And that is not the case. Your body needs time to adjust, and it's gonna take longer than 4 weeks. For me personally, the first month I was on keto, I lost 8 pounds. The second month I was on keto, I lost 8 pounds. The third month I was on keto, I lost 15 pounds. And if I would have looked at 8 pounds and thought, oh, that's not enough, this diet, I'm not losing quickly enough, this diet's not working for me, I might have given up and not really pushed through to that threshold that really made me realize that, oh wow, keto works if you stick with it and if you're truly disciplined. And I'm really proud of myself because I was one of those 5 on, 2 off type people my entire dieting life, but I made a plan. That's why it's important to make a plan. And I wrote down everything I was gonna eat and I prepared it so that when Saturday came, when the first Saturday of the ketogenic diet came, I had to actually mentally trick myself and pretend I was still at work, because that's how we gauge when it's time to eat. It's okay, normally if it was 8:30, I'd be having a coffee, and then by 11:30, I'd be having lunch. And so I would gauge when I was supposed to eat on the weekend for when I normally ate at work during the week. And that first Saturday and Sunday that I made it through on plan, on the diet, like that was revolutionary for me because I had just never done it before. And that gives you the confidence to go right back into Monday. And you know, Monday through Friday is a breeze. We can do that. And then the next Saturday and Sunday, you already know that you've done it once before and you can do it again and you can keep doing it. And I did it for 90 days straight. And it shows you that you're not a slave to food. You're not a slave to your cravings. You can make a plan, you can stick to a plan, you can eat delicious food, and you cannot feel deprived. All right, and my last and final tip number 4, find a keto community. If that's on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, with people you know in real life. That's one of the most surefire ways to remain accountable and really understand that you're not alone in your struggles. I'll tell you one thing you are alone in, making sure that you're doing the work. No one's gonna force feed you keto food. You have actually got to make the choice to put the correct food in your body every day. No one else can do that for you. And in that, you are completely alone. But in your struggles, in your temptations, and your desire for new recipes, and your desire to vent, there are tons of people out there going through the exact same thing that you are. And to find that and to read that and to really realize that you're not alone or something's not wrong with you because for 30 days in a row, you're doing great. And for day 31, you just want to flip a table because you have such a bad craving, to realize that that's normal and everybody feels it, and just to work your way through it and to let the community know your struggles. And it's also a place for great information. People are always sharing information, recipes, tips on fasting, tips for exercising. There's so much information out there, and it's so much more meaningful when it comes from a person that you know is going through the same things that you're going through. So you're already on your way with step 4 if you're watching this video, because you're already part of my community, and I really, really love that, and I'm glad you're here. And I want you to know that if I was successful, if I, the person that tried so many diets, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, juicing, vegan, everything, I've tried everything. If I can find something that works for me and make up my mind, because that's all it takes. You got to make up your mind. If I can finally get to the point where I made up my mind that I was gonna be disciplined and consistent with this diet. If I can do that, anyone can. Because I know exactly how it feels to feel hopeless, to feel, well, I guess I'm just a fat person forever. I guess this is my life now. But to really truly know that that's not the life you want, but to honestly believe that you don't have the power to change it. I'm a slave to donuts. I'm a slave to Doritos. They all taste too good. I can't do it. I'm here to tell you, you can do it. You can, but you have to make up your mind and you have to be disciplined and you have to put it into action. All right, that's enough of me rambling. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that these tips helped you if you're just wanting to start the diet, or if maybe you've done the diet for a little bit and you've fallen off. Hopefully you can start to re-implement some of these tips. That'll help you be successful this time around. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, Watch Autumn Keto. I make weekly meal preps, weekly What I Eat Wednesdays, monthly weigh-ins, and monthly keto crate reviews. You can also find me on Instagram at Watch Autumn Keto. Thanks, and I'll talk to you later.
Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather. This is Honest Homemaking, and today we're going to talk about how I lost almost 20 pounds in 4 weeks by doing the keto diet. You heard that right. I lost 18.3 pounds, I have notes on my phone, in 4 weeks. A little over 2 months ago, I gave birth to my 4th baby boy. If you did not know, he was born on August 13th, so he's just he's 2 months and 11 days old. Everybody's body has kind of a resting weight where your body just kind of sits. When I am, kind of eating smart and not really dieting, I sit around 140 or so. I'm pretty short. That's actually, I would really like to stay around 130, but if I'm not working out and I'm not eating healthy, I sit around 140 or so. When I'm eating healthy and working out like you should just to fuel your body, I sit around 130 or so. So when I got pregnant with Mason, on my very first appointment, I weighed 154 pounds. So I was quite a bit higher than my normal everyday weight. You're going to hear Leo and Mason. They're in the other room. Mason is in his swing and Leo is just playing. So they're just right next door. You're probably going to hear them making some noise. Hopefully that's not too distracting. When I went in for my very first appointment, I weighed 154 pounds. So that's quite a bit more than what I would consider my resting normal weight. And then on top of that, when you're pregnant, you gain weight. So the day I gave birth, I weighed 185 pounds. And I'm very short. So not only did I have a belly, but you guys have seen my videos. My arms got larger, my face gained weight. I gained weight, all over. Oh, the back, oof, I gained weight quick there. But I knew the day that I had him that I wanted to lose some weight, but I gave my body time to rest and heal because, I'd just given birth. So I decided that I was going to do something different. Chris and I have talked about the keto diet multiple times. We have tried every diet under the sun. We've done all the Beachbody programs, Les Mills programs. We did Thai belt. You would not believe the amount of exercises we have done. And they have been hard to maintain. When I'm dieting, I feel hungry all the time. I'm constantly obsessing over the numbers, tracking my calories. And I'm hungry. Anyway, when I'm dieting, I'm hungry, I don't have a lot of energy, and I just generally feel crabby because, you're very restricted when you're on what you would call a diet. After my 6-week postpartum checkup, I decided that I was going to really give keto a try. I follow a really sweet girl. Her name is Danielle. She runs a channel called Daniela Diaries here on YouTube. I mentioned her in my Keto Cook With Me, and I will link her channel below for you. I follow her on Instagram, and she restarted the keto diet, and she did a video showing, I think it was like a keto grocery haul, and that was what finally inspired me to try it. I saw her food, and she'd been talking about it and how good she was feeling, and so I finally bit the bullet and we started keto. So we've been doing keto now for 4 weeks. We took a week off to go camping. We ate everything in sight, so we don't really count that week. So for the first week of keto, we did really well. I felt great. I dropped 11 pounds in the first week, which is a lot of weight. A lot of that is water that your body holds on to because it's bloated from all the stuff, the sugars and stuff that you're eating. But I lost 11 pounds in the first week. Then we took the second week, we went camping almost in 6 days. So we did not do keto while we were camping, although we could have after we thought about it when we were camping. But we came home and went immediately back to keto. And since then, I have lost another 7.3 pounds. So my total weight loss in the 4 weeks of keto that we did is 18.3 pounds. That's a lot of weight to lose in less than a month. And the most impressive part, at least to me, is that my body fat has gone down almost 5% in just 4 weeks. So I'm losing fat. Like we have a Fitbit Aria scale, so it shows you your weight and it shows you your body fat percentage. And mine went from 40%. Told you I had a lot of fat on my. I'm only 5'3", so that's a lot of fat to be on my small frame. I went from 40% to 35.4. I would also like to add that this is without doing any workouts of any kind. We are in a very busy season of life, so we haven't been able to do a lot of workouts. But it's a really good diet. We're not hungry. We feel very satisfied. You know, I guess it's something, I don't know a lot about keto, so I'm not an expert. I'm not going to be able to give you a lot of advice on it. I could just tell you what worked for me. But I guess it's where you eat a lot of fat. It keeps you full. I generally don't eat until after 1 o'clock in the evening. Like it's actually 2:02 right now. Watch. It's actually 2:02 right now, and I haven't eaten anything today, and I'm not hungry. I will get something very shortly because I'll have to leave to get the kids, but I don't want to be super hungry by dinner time, so I will probably eat soon. But on the keto diet, you're not hungry. I have had no cravings. I feel better than I have in years. My skin looks better than it has in years. I have no breakouts anymore. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. It is an amazing diet, and Chris and I both feel fabulous. He's also lost almost 20 pounds. His body seems to react to it just a little bit differently than mine. He's losing weight. It's just not as quickly as my body has been dropping it off. And I actually think that might have to do with I'm also nursing. I'm breastfeeding while I'm doing it. It hasn't interfered with that in any way, shape, or form. Mason still gobbles up booby all day, every day. He's getting lots and lots of milk because when we had him to the pediatrician, he's in like the 99th percentile for weight. At his 2-month appointment, he weighed 15 pounds, 7 ounces, which is a very big 2-month-old baby. So clearly it doesn't affect my body in breastfeeding. We plan to continue the keto diet as long as it's working for us and we feel good and healthy. We had one cheat day, actually it was about a week ago, and we probably won't do that again because we just felt crappy the next day. I felt sluggish and bloated and like I just couldn't wake up. I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, so I feel like I can't really give an informative video. I'm just giving like my results, but I'm going to insert a picture so that you can see. You're going to see a lot of mom body right here, but the first picture, of course, is my day 1. The middle picture is actually my week 1 results, and then the third picture is my week 4 results. I wish that I had taken inches measurements, but I forgot to until, you know, I was already a week through it, and by then I was like, well, what's the point if I'm already this far into it? I will leave some resources below. These will be the resources that I have found most helpful in learning about keto and how to start keto. So all the information will be linked in the description. Really, it's just 2 places. Like I said, Daniela Diaries and a website called dietdoctor.com. It's full of like the beginner keto stuff, all the information you're going to need. And they have a sample 2-week meal plan to get you started. That I've never... That's my cue that it's time to go. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I know he's crying. I'm coming. I hope that it wasn't too all over the place. I hope it wasn't too scatterbrained. And I will see you guys in my next video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
There's a myth that saturated fat is good for you. Most of the folks in the paleo and keto communities think that the more saturated fat that you eat, the better. In fact, this was first posited as the cause of heart disease back in the 1950s. By a very famous nutrition researcher from the University of Minnesota by the name of Ancel Keys. He published a very famous study called the 7 Countries Study that purported that animal fat, the more saturated fat that people ate, the higher their risk of heart disease. Now, he presented his findings to the World Health Organization, and the World Health Organization believed what he said. And so the low-fat movement came about. Now, I've looked at Ancel Keys, all of his studies. I looked at them over and over again. And interestingly enough, Ancel Keys is tied for the longest living nutritionist on record. And Ancel Keys, I've had the pleasure of interviewing his housekeeper, ate huge amounts of olive oil. Now, olive oil is not a saturated fat. But what happened with Ancel Keys was people took his data and they thought he was demonizing fat. He wasn't at all. He was demonizing animal saturated fat. So what I've looked at Ancel Keys' data and my own data in that animal fats are associated with animal protein. And it was actually the animal protein that was the big mischief maker in the animal fat, the saturated fat hypothesis. Now, so having said that, the more olive oil that I can get into you, the better your longevity and the better your brain health. And I've got a lot of tricks in the longevity paradox to tell you how to use olive oil or the polyphenols in olive oil to maximize your brain health and your lifespan. The idea that you should be cramming down the bacon or the sausages or the really marbled meat in a paleo or a ketogenic diet is quite frankly detrimental long term. It turns out that animal protein, and it doesn't matter if the animal's a fish, it doesn't matter if the animal's an egg, if it doesn't matter if it's cheese, animal proteins absolutely cause you to age quicker, and absolutely in the case of beef, lamb, and pork, increase your risk of developing cancers. One of the interesting things about the blue zones, and I'm actually the only nutritionist who has actually spent most of their career living in a blue zone, and that's Loma Linda, California. And I can tell you that the unifying principles of the blue zones, in other words, what their diets all share, is not the common things that you're told about. All the blue zones do not eat whole grains. All the blue zones do not eat beans. That's a myth. In fact, that is not a unifying feature of the blue zones. And as I talk about in the longevity paradox, the whole grains that some of the blue zones eat and the beans that some of the blue zones eat are actually a negative part of their diet that's overcome by other very positive parts of their diet, including generous use of olive oil in 3 of the blue zones. But the unifying feature of the blue zones, which was common to Loma Linda, it's common to Sardinia, it's common to Crete, it's it's common to acciaroli, it's common to kitivins, is very, very little animal protein. That's actually the uniting factor. And as I talk about in the longevity paradox, one of my colleagues, Gary Frazier from Loma Linda, has shown that the vegan Adventists are actually the longest lived of all of the long-lived Adventists. And again, the unifying feature of all the blue zones is not the grains and beans. It's actually limited animal protein. Does that mean you have to give it up? No. In fact, I'm going to give you a bunch of tricks in the book on how to have your cake and eat it too. In this case, how to have your meat and eat it too.
Are you able to recommend the ketogenic diet plant-based and avoiding, because
yes,
usually it's good.
Yeah, I think that's the major mistake that people associate with a ketogenic diet or a paleo diet. These are all variations of basically the Atkins diet. And people think that a high protein diet, avoiding carbohydrates, and keeping the fat that's associated with animal protein is a ketogenic diet. And I measure ketones in all of my patients, and the vast majority of patients that I see who say they're on a ketogenic diet, in fact, aren't, because they're eating primarily a heavy protein diet. And this was actually one of the mistakes that Dr. Adkins made, and I know because my original book, Dr. Gundry's Diet Evolution, was done by Random House, who had done all the Atkins diets and all the South Beach diet books. And Dr. Adkins didn't know that we have no real storage system for protein. We need it for wear and repair, but that's about it. So we don't waste energy. So we convert protein into sugar, gluconeogenesis. Mm-hmm. And he actually died a fat man. And so many people in the ketogenic community don't know that protein will turn into sugar. So to get back to your question, I basically tell my patients that I want them to become a gorilla who lives in Italy. Now, you have to think about that for a second. Gorillas only eat leaves and twigs. Mm-hmm. And why I want them to live in Italy, because I want them to consume 1 liter of olive oil per week. And that's a huge amount of olive oil. It's about 12 to 14 tablespoons a day. But there's a very interesting Spanish study of 65-year-old people who were followed for 4 years, and I'll briefly summarize it. One group had to have 1 liter of olive oil per week for 4 years and have a Mediterranean diet. A second group ate a low-fat Mediterranean diet. And the original study was to look at memory, and I'll forget about that. But the women in the olive oil group had a 67% less incidence of breast cancer over that time period than the women in the low-fat Mediterranean diet. So I think, so if you eat 1 liter of olive oil per week and avoid animal proteins, you're basically on about an 80% fat diet. And the carbohydrates that you're eating are basically leaves as a mechanism to get olive oil into your mouth. So that's what I do with my patients. Now, I'm not successful entirely. A lot of people will not give up animal protein, but the more I can diminish animal protein, the more successful I am with this program. And among other things, what I want to do is get the gut bacteria participating in educating the immune system. Most of the low-carb diets, whether they're a paleo diet, an Atkins diet, a keto diet, work because they're eliminating most of the lectin-containing foods, which are primarily in the vegetables and the grains and the beans that we're eliminating in those diets. So there wasn't anything miraculous about the high protein or the high fat diet. It was actually what was miraculous was the lectin elimination that they didn't talk about because they actually didn't know that that's why they worked. In fact, when my first book, Dr. Gundry's Diet Evolution, was bought by Random House 11 years ago now, they had done all the Atkins diets and all the South Beach diets. And I had figured out what was wrong with those diets. And one of the things that was common in both of those diets is you eliminated grains and beans from phase one. After phase one, you reintroduced grains and beans, and invariably people gained weight. So the answer was, well, go back to phase one, where you eliminate grains and beans. And it didn't click in any of the editors' minds that the reason you had to go back to phase one was not to be low carb again, but to get rid of the lectin-containing foods that were the grains and beans. So that was one of the observations that I made that such a successful book.
You know, a lot of people that are doing the ketogenic diet actually think all fats are the same. Like they don't really decipher really good fats from bad fats a lot of time. And so really the reason why I wrote this book was to really dive deep and try to understand, is there a difference between, let's say, the fat in an avocado or the fat in wild seafood and let's say the fats in bacon or butter? And it turns out there is a big difference. And so, you know, really that's what the book is all about, trying to pick the healthiest foods that provide the fats to actually make you a better fat burning machine.
So you mean there is a difference? I shouldn't eat a stick of butter every day if I'm on a ketogenic diet? That's not good for me?
Correct. I mean, and I'm honestly an offender of that. Like a few years ago, I was probably putting too much heavy cream in my coffee and I started gaining weight. And so that's when I realized I need to really research the different types of fats to see how they metabolize in your own body. So just take, for example, omega-3 fats. They actually increase your fat burning genes in the liver. So if you and I are sitting here and we're consuming 3 or 4 grams of omega-3s from, let's say, fish oil, or we're getting it from wild seafood, we are literally, our beta oxidation, our fat burning in the liver is 20% higher. And if we're exercising, our beta oxidation in our liver or our fat burning goes up by 30% simply by consuming more omega-3s. And so it's almost like if you swap out and replace butter with omega-3s, it's almost like swapping out a V4 engine for a V8 engine. You are literally more efficient and better at burning fat. And so that's just one key that really Superfuel dives into.